and welcome to our demo day. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to our very special demo day that we have today. We are celebrating the conclusion of a very special, small data science bootcamp. And because of that, we have a lot of attention on them, and I'm very excited about this because their project is really cool. But before we get into that, I want to welcome you all here and thank you all for taking the time for joining. I also want to thank everybody who's joining us on LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live or StreamYard. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions or any comments, or if you want to cheer your friends and family on, please do so in the comment section. Say hello. We would love to hear from you. We have people who are able to answer your questions and talk to you live. So thank you for that. I'm going to look at the rest of you all now. Just to introduce myself very quickly, my name is Rachel. I am the Events, Community, and Career Lead here at Wagon in Montreal. And I am incredibly excited to be here for Demo Day. I love Demo Day because it is the culmination of a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat and tears, and I'm very excited to be here today to see the pitch that will happen later. So, are you prepared for this? I'm not convinced. Are you prepared for this? Yeah. Okay, it's going to be a little more anticlimactic because first I want to tell you why you should prepare yourself and let you know a little bit about Le Wagon, what we do here, what we stand for, and why we're doing this. So we are a global and immersive tech training. So that means that we teach our students the basic skills of tech and AI. And the most important thing that we teach them is how to learn. So we teach them the essential skills to join the tech community by enhancing not only their technical expertise, but also enhancing and encouraging them to potentially launch their own businesses, or exposing them to different technologies. Our whole purpose here is to prepare you for whatever it is that you want to do next and make sure that you're technically savvy in these languages in order to do so. Le Wagon was founded in France in 2017. 13. We've been here since 2017 in Montreal. And to date, we have over 30 campuses worldwide, and we've helped over 30,000 alumni join the tech industry. And today, we are going to be adding a few to that number. Yay! Okay. So, one of the reasons why Le Wagon is so highly rated by our students is because we have a very specific methodology that stands out from other boot camps. So we truly believe in real-time learning, on one-on-one support, and on a hands-on approach. That means that everything that we're teaching during our boot camp comes from industry expertise and interest, and we genuinely want to make sure that they have the skills that it takes to move into that next phase. But also, our students are not just numbers or students to us. You are our peers and our future colleagues, and for that, it's very important for us to watch you succeed. And I can honestly say on behalf of the staff and all of the teachers that we're very, very proud of you and what you've accomplished here. But it's not all fun and games. It's a lot of hard work. And we've seen you push past insecurities. We've watched you break down walls and show incredible resilience over the past 6 months. Our students tonight who are graduating are part-time, which means that they have been studying while working. So that means that they've been doing this nights and weekends. And that takes a lot of patience, skills, and perseverance. So really, congratulations for that. Yeah. But why? Why Le Wagon? Why? Does anybody know? I know. So you all had very different reasons for joining. You all have your own why. But what you all have in common is that you're trying to forge your own path to what it is that you want to do next. And so we want to make sure to give you that solid jumping off platform where you can do whatever it is that you'd like to do after this boot camp and forge your own path into the future. So now that I've kind of gotten all emotional about how much we love our students. What do we actually do here day to day? So here at Wagon in Montreal, we teach 3 different tracks. We teach the AI software development bootcamp, which is focusing on back-end and front-end coding and teaches students to create a web app from scratch while also understanding AI technologies and understanding how to integrate that in their apps and also how to use it as a tool. We also teach data analytics, which is about building visual dashboards and creating a data story. And then today we're going to be witnessing our data science and AI students bootcamp, and that focuses on the ins and outs of machine learning and Python. But that's a very overview sense of what they do because it's a lot more than that. And let me get into depth a little bit more so that for those of you who aren't data scientists can understand a little bit of the curriculum that these people went through over the past 6 months. So it begins by mastering fundamentals. So that means Python, SQL, and statistics. And then they level up. They dive into machine learning and deep learning, which is all under the broader umbrella of AI, which really just means algorithms to handle uncertainty and to understand massive amounts of data. And then along the way, they learn how to analyze these data sets and predict outcomes for problems that are so complex that you really need a computer in order to do that. So for their final project, Eric, Farah, Jeremy, and Sun will be presenting Conversion AI, which is a platform that helps companies analyze customer data, predict which prospects are more likely to buy, and generate personalized sales pitches to improve conversion rates. So with that, I would love to welcome you 3 to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Sun, and together with my teammates Eric, Jeremy, and Farah, we're excited to present to you our application called Conversion AI. Companies today are drowning in customer data and are struggling to extract insights from it. This data can come from various sources and may contain thousands upon thousands of rows of information. And this can lead to a time-consuming cycle of data collection, preparation, and analysis that rarely leads to optimal decision-making. Luckily, this is where Conversion AI comes into play and solves everything. It offers 3 powerful capabilities. Number 1, a deep understanding of your customer base through intelligent data analytics. Number 2, a model that predicts the likelihood of a buyer. And finally, a generative AI model that creates tailored sales pitches to your customers. Let's dive deeper into the first feature. It allows you to upload your customer data onto our platform, and our automated pipeline will clean, standardize, and run your data sets through a series of sophisticated machine learning algorithms such as k-means clustering and dbScan, which uncovers hidden patterns in your data set and creates meaningful customer profiles. It also provides you with intuitive visualizations, and this automated pipeline allows you to save a lot of data preparation work, as well as allow your company to create tailored products to your customer profiles. Let's jump into the second feature, which redefines how your company targets customers through predictive analytics. And we use state-of-the-art machine learning algorithms such as XGBoost, random forest classifications, and neural networks to predict the likelihood of a buyer. And by using or combining some of these techniques together, we're able to achieve accuracy rates of 30% greater than simpler models. And overall, this allows your company to target customers and also, to increase conversion rates and even maintain them. So what we mean by conversion rate is your ability to convince a customer to make a purchase. And the last piece of the puzzle, we have our generative AI model that allows you to create tailored pitches to your customers, and this will help your sales team increase conversion rates. You do not need to take my word for it. In fact, we have here on stage 2 lovely gentlemen. So Eric, who is a portfolio manager, and Jeremy, a financial advisor who work for Mile End Investment, a Montreal-based company that has one main investment strategy in the form of a mutual fund. They've been using our app for several months now and are here to share their experience. So Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, son. Since we opened Mile End Investment, we faced many challenges. Our goal was to offer financial products to our customer, but we didn't really know who they were. And our conversion rates were really low. And we actually didn't know what to do. So we discovered Conversion AI. Conversion AI is very simple to use. Let me show you how easy it is to use. So we have two options, customer profile and make prediction. When I click on customer profile, I can go and download our file, our CSV file, that is our data file, and then I preview it to make sure this is the right file. And I click on start analysis. In seconds, I see 4 smart profiles powered by machine learning and AI. We have young first-timers, older first-timers, engaged with contacts, and senior professionals. For today's demo, I will focus on engaged with contact. These are the people we already contacted once, and they already took the service with us. I want to know more about them. Then I click on compare profile. They're actually making 20% of our portfolio. This is not a huge group. I want to know more about their conversion rate. There's a bar chart below that's telling me they convert 25%. This is actually better than the other group that convert between 5 and 10%. So they are fewer, but they are much more valuable. Now I want to know more about them. I click on single profile, and I'll focus on the age. Okay. Most of them are between 20 and 45 years old. I click on the month tab. I can see clear spikes in month of March, September, and July. So this is telling me who to focus on and when to contact them. What if I want to have a summary review of what we just saw to know what actually helped the conversion and what hurt the conversion? That's when I click on Conversion Insights. I focus on engaged with contact, of course. And this is what we saw. So we know that contacting them in month of March, July, or September boosts the conversion by more than 30%. But having a personal loan is actually reducing our chance by 10%. To wrap up, customer profile page actually helped me to know who to focus on and when. Conversion AI helped us as portfolio manager to better manage our portfolio daily. Now I will hand it over to Jeremy, our financial advisor, who will show you the next level. Jeremy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eric. So now we're going to move on to the heart of Conversion AI, which is a prediction page where even more magic happens. So as a financial advisor, my question is always the same. How likely is a customer going to invest? Well, with Conversion AI, I don't have to make that guess anymore. Just to give you an example, I'm about to contact John here, who's a 28-year-old working as an admin with only 6,000 in his balance and a housing loan. Well, obviously, I could add in more features, but just for now, we're just going to focus on the most important ones. So just with a click, I know exactly how likely John is about to invest. Don't focus on the small amount, because in investment, every single point matters. Another feature that I like using with Conversion AI is the generate sales pitch. Within seconds, I can have the key discussion points ready for me so that I know how to approach John when I'm about to make that call. It's no longer about making the generic script, it's about knowing exactly how to start a conversation and maintain one. But obviously, I don't work with just one client at a time. So Conversion AI just helps me here with the multiple predictions option. All I've got to do is upload my client list, and just like that, my whole book of business is mapped out right in front of me. The app shows me that I have 70 prospects with a ranked list with the names, phone numbers, and probabilities. It also shows me that I have a 97% chance of convincing at least one customer. Now, calling 70 customers in a day might seem a bit overwhelming. That's why I can adjust the threshold, and this leaves me with 5 prospects, and the probability of convincing at least one customer goes down to 39%. Now, my manager expects me to convince at least 2 customers in a day. So naturally, this brings down the probability of success even lower. Yet, it gives me a clearer and more realistic view of what it takes to actually achieve bigger goals. From there, I can download the predictions, and what's really powerful here is that I still have the generate sales pitch button, and with that, I have a key discussion tailored to each and every single client that I have here. What it's going through right now is actually going through a Gen AI model, generating a script for each customer that we have in our list here. Honestly, having used this app now for a few months, I can honestly say that it has been very helpful in my day-to-day tasks, and it has actually improved our core performance. I'm starting with the most promising leads, building momentum, and making sure that every conversation counts. With that said, I'm now going to pass it back to Sun. Thank you.
We started a discussion by stating how companies are drowning in customer data with no clear path forward. Throughout our conversation, we've illustrated how Conversion AI can bring you to success by giving you the deep customer understanding that you need to swim to success. So before we end this presentation, we'd like to say a big thank you to Farah, who couldn't make it here today, but has greatly contributed to the development of this platform, and to Mamdou, who's sitting in the audience with his big and beautiful smile. So thank you. Yeah.
You did it! Congratulations. Is this thing on? Yes. Congratulations. Yay. You may now relax. Okay, one more round of applause for our students. Yay, Sun, Jeremy, Eric. Woo! If we had a proper hat, you could now lift it to the other side and consider yourselves graduates. So you are now part of our alumni network. Yay, thumbs up. Okay, so now we have to take a short technical pause while we change some chairs around and introduce an alumni panel. Tonight we have some special guests who are coming to join us. We have Paul and Caitlin, and Caitlin, sorry, I misspelled your name. And and Saeed, who will be joining us. They're all alumni from the boot camp. Paul and Saeed were part-time students just like yourselves, and Caitlin also was a full-time student. We're going to introduce them up to the stage shortly, let them talk about themselves and talk about their experience post-boot camp. So we need a half a second to move some chairs. So musical chair music, please. stage, I would love for you each to very, very quickly introduce yourselves, where you're working now, when did you graduate, where are you working, when did you graduate from the boot camp, and what, like, part-time, full-time? Because I mentioned it, but if you could do it officially, that would be great. And I can pass this.
Oh, we're starting from here. Or okay, cool. So yeah, my name is Saeed. A student part-time from July to December 2023. So it's been, wow, it's actually 2 years ago that I started this the bootcamp, and a year and a half since I graduated. And I am currently working at Behavior, where I have been working. It's just I changed my roles when there was an open position, and I'm working as a data analyst. And I also work at Wagon, teaching workshops as instructor. So yeah, that's me so far.
Hi, so my name is Caitlin. I graduated last July, so just over a year ago. And for almost the last year, I've been working for Datatonic. It's an analytics and AI consulting firm. And I've been working there as a consultant and machine learning engineer. Oh, and I did my batch full time.
I already have one. I think it works. So my name is Paul. Before doing the Wagon bootcamp, I was a professor of philosophy, and I did that for a year. And I wanted to get into AI ethics because I had worked in that area before. So I decided the best way to do that would be to do a bootcamp in data science. And at the end of the day, I got hired to just actually build data science tools, to build AI tools. And that's what I do for TELUS right now. So I did the Wagon program about 2.5 years ago, I would say. And it's been an incredible opportunity having done this, because it allowed me to build all these great systems in my company and to get promoted. And now I run a team building these tools. And it's really been a great opportunity to have done this.
So I failed to mention, but I'd love for you to explain, did any of you have data science experience before doing the boot camp?
I could start. So part of my PhD in philosophy was in the history of science. So we had some knowledge of mathematics and statistics, but I had built a website before, but in Angular, which I don't think people really use that anymore. But so I did have some experience in this area, but not a lot.
Yeah, I had also, my background was in science and had done sort of graduate statistics, had worked a little bit with data systems previous role. So I used to work in operations safety. So sort of got into it like that, but nothing formal and nothing really in machine learning in any detail before here.
Yeah, for me, my experience is kind of all over the place. I studied a lot of science and mathematics in high school, and then in university I studied architecture, and then masters of history and theory of architecture at McGill. And then I was Behavior is a video game company, so I was working in the video games. But I did get into programming and learning Python and SQL a little bit just before signing up for this bootcamp. So nothing specifically like data science related, but programming I had started. Yes.
This is dead. We're just gonna leave that there for a second. So I have a quick question. You've all been through demo day yourselves. Can you look back and tell you what about your demo days were most meaningful to you?
Ooh, the feeling of relief when it was over. I mean, you saw the GIF, the guy just like jumping down and be like, "Yay!" That was me. I could not stop smiling just because besides the fact that the pressure was over, but also I had gone from knowing nothing about data science to knowing so much, and so much of my life had also changed through those 6 months. It was only like 6 months that so many things had changed, and I had learned so much. I had become familiar with like the community of Wagon. So yeah, I was really happy to be part of this. And when it came to an end, well, it was the end of my journey as a data science student, but it was not the end of my connection with Wagon and the community as it's growing.
Yeah, I definitely remember my demo day really, really fondly. It was so cool to have, I know like people had their friends and their families, and you spend so much time. You put so much time into this and just so much effort that to have it end with other people around you is just like really, really special. And to also, after spending the whole time going like deep into the details, learning a lot of stuff at a really granular level, to then suddenly bring it back and have to like retranslate it into terms that everybody can understand was kind of a really cool way to bring it full circle. And that's like super important, after the boot camp and when you go to actually work in this field. So it was a great way to kind of round off all the effort, and was just like such a cool experience.
Yeah, I loved watching all the other people present too and see all the projects. I'm sorry, but I had a really fun time the entire time I was here, and we had a really good batch. I think we had a lot of people in our batch, and we'd be playing ping pong every day, like every Saturday after our boot camp, because we did part time too, and we'd be drinking beers, and we had really formed like a bond with a lot of people in our group. So by the end of it, it was really fun to present, and then I think that night we all went out and drank, and it was really cool.
Our other mic died. So, other than the fun, because it sounds like the boot camp was so much fun. What did you take away from building and presenting your final project that you still work on today? Or did your final project come up again in your professional life somehow?
Well, I definitely talked about it in an interview that I had, because job hunting it's going to include going through multiple interviews and having a solid project where you're proud of and you happily talk about, and you just talk about it with people. That's something that really stuck with me about the final project. I was really happy about it because we talked about like the teamwork we did, the project that we had, and yeah, that was the main thing that I talked about, and I still talk about today. If you have any questions about that, just ask me later. I'll be happy to present the project to you.
Yeah, I think after spending so much time working as an individual, like you work with the people around you, you solve problems together, but getting the chance to collaborate with other people and suddenly realize that doing these kinds of projects, you don't go too far if you're alone, but that communication piece and like using the collaboration tools, like figuring out how to work with Git, figuring out how to actually track what everybody's doing using something like Jira, like these are things that are like super, super important for what comes next. And so getting the chance to do those in the boot camp is really, really important, and being able to get kind of an end-to-end understanding of everything from ideation to doing that initial data exploration and analysis, and then refining that process to build your pipeline. Like doing that full life cycle is super, super important. And definitely when you go to do job interviews, when you're talking to hiring managers and explaining your experience, like the fact that you've done all of that and that you've done it with a team is going to be super important. So I definitely leaned on that during my interviews, and I highly recommend that you do the same.
Yeah, I would really agree with that actually, because when you go to work for like a big enterprise, you're going to do all those things, except on an enterprise scale, and which is a little bit intimidating sometimes because you're like pulling data from somewhere, you're doing analysis, you're building a pipeline, and if it breaks, like someone could lose a lot of money. So you're like pretty nervous about it, but at the same time, you have all these tools and all these ways of thinking about things like communicating and building these right workflows in GitHub and alerting and everything like that. So you know how to do those things. It's there. You just have to put it into place. So it's a bit intimidating at first, but I think you do have the right skill set to do it. I think our project was image detection and classification. I've not done that once since I've started. There's another team that's doing something sort of using image detection and classification. We just use large language models for almost everything now. I hate to say it, but because there's just so many opportunities to use them. And I thought it was cool actually in your project. You had done some like sort of traditional machine learning, and then at the end you're like, well, we could use Gen AI too to generate these sorts of sales pitches. And I can tell you, like, we're actually working on a project too that does exactly that. Like, we have this huge multinomial model with all this customer data that we've trained in order to be able to predict the customer's likelihood to buy a product. And we want to add on to this sort of workflow that would simplify for our technicians selling products in the customer's home, sort of, because yeah. So I thought that was really cool that you added that onto there.
Add something, sorry. As Caitlin said, I think it's also important to talk about not only the technical aspect of what you did or like the project that you did specifically, but more of a, like the time management or task tracking and all of that. Like those were the things that is definitely worth mentioning, and they are very important to talk about how, like, team working and everything, because when you get hired as a data analyst, data scientist, you're always working with a team. So as important as it is that you are tech savvy, it's also important to be a team player. So this was a really great opportunity to highlight basically in job interviews that yes, I've done group projects.
Thank y'all for that. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about thinking back on your time at Le Wagon. What skill or mindset, most particularly I'm thinking about mindset, turned out to be the most valuable in your career thus far?
I would say not only in my career, but like as a lifestyle mindset, never stop learning, and basically believe in yourself that when there's a structure, there's always the end goal regardless of how tough it is. That was the same thing. Like after 6 months, I was very surprised about how much time I had in my hand, and I guess I wasn't managing it properly. And then in 6 months, when there's a a structure that keeps you going through a curriculum, and then by the end of it you realize, oh wow, with a solid structure you realize how much can be done. And so you just take the same mindset, you apply it anywhere in your life, and yeah, you get results.
Yeah, I think the learning part, huge. If you think that you're like done learning now that you're done the boot camp, like there's no way. I feel like the way that my days were structured, like at the boot camp, which was like part of the day was spent like kind of learning something new, figuring it out, and then part of it was like implementing it. Like that is still my day. So I think the lessons of like get hands on keyboard as fast as possible, like fail fast, try something for, I think here we say like 15 minutes. At work, I'll give it a little bit longer than that. But like, if you're starting to hit a wall with something, like someone's already solved that problem. Go ahead and figure out who it is and just like iterate faster. So I think that kind of mindset is super important and is like still my daily sort of rhythm at work. So keep that going.
I think doing this gives you a lot of confidence to do something that was otherwise maybe intimidating for you beforehand. And I think that's definitely the case with coding. Like you did, like once you do the program, you look back and you're like, I could have taught myself that probably, but you didn't, and you thought it was useful to do the boot camp. And I think once you're done, I think this is a really cool thing about coding. It's like you're able to grow as smart and as motivated as you are. So if you have that just basic skill set to start off with, you could continue to grow and grow and grow. Like within my company and even my team, I mean, I have people on my team that don't even have like really a formal background. I have ones that have PhDs, but they're all just like really good at what they do. And I think that's just sort of speaks to what's really cool about programming, which is that if you have the motivation and intelligence to do it, you can really do it well.
So was there something that you only understood or appreciated after your experience with the boot camp? So while you were doing it, you were thinking, what on earth? And then afterwards, you're like, oh, okay, yeah.
I'll let you start on this one.
No, go ahead. Go.
Well, I have to think about this, but I think, actually, yes. I would say a lot of things kind of just like fell in place as we're working on our final project, because you're going through this again, limited time. so many things to learn. And then when we got to the project of, okay, what it is that we want to do, how do we want to implement it, and then we are basically creating the path for ourselves. That's where so many things fell in place. You want to go for the simplest route possible. Just because you have a lot of knowledge on so many different ways of solving a problem doesn't mean that you have to go for the fanciest way. You want to go for the simplest way. Again, these were the things that I would say. I know I'm kind of cheating here a little bit because you said after the bootcamp, but yeah, but yeah, maybe if by the time that you are, see, you had time to think about this, so I'm gonna take some time to think about this too. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for my answer.
Probably object-oriented programming. Like, there's lots of things that we learned, and then it isn't until you get into like a big code base, or you suddenly, that's it, you're like coding with people who you're not like directly talking with necessarily, and you suddenly realize that like, oh, like the way that we're going to map this out has to be really, really clear, and like this code has to be like self-explanatory, and like has to be like hierarchical in a way that sort of really makes sense for what it's trying to do. Those were things that I only started to appreciate afterwards. That's probably the biggest one. I mean, there's lots of, I think just kind of the agile way of working where it's just like iterative and you go back over and over and over things again. And every time you do, you get a little bit more out of it. I still feel that way. And I think that it's kind of like a good, like, you don't have to understand everything all at once. You kind of have to know just enough to get that first step done. And then you will probably come back to it many, many more times and you'll get better at it each time. So I think that's still part of it for me.
I would like to answer that question in that way, but I'm like a unabashed vibe coder. So, no, you can't vibe code everything, obviously, but yeah, I would agree with that. Really, that structure is so important.
So I think our students are curious, and so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. But what were your first steps after graduating, and how did you and when did you eventually get to job searching? Because I always tell them like you need a break after this, but you can say what you can tell us what you did.
Yeah, I slept. The first thing I did afterwards. Also, as a part-time student, you do evenings during the week and then on Saturdays. So I was like, wow, I have the entire Saturday to myself. But no, but seriously, we had the last week, or actually, I think it was after the demo day. There was like 1 or 2 weeks where we prepared our CVs, like, basically rewrote a CV based on everything that we've learned, and just to be prepared for job hunting. And again, since I took my course in July to December, I did take a few weeks, like a couple of weeks break, because it was the holidays. Afterwards, I kept working on my CV, and then in January I just started applying to jobs. And yeah, I guess the important thing was taking a couple of weeks break. But you also want to keep the momentum going, with the excitement of, oh, I have accomplished something significant. You want to build up on that energy and keep going.
Yeah, I think definitely took a break. I think I had also sort of been applying and like looking at positions during the boot camp just to kind of like, I know what we're learning here right now hands-on, but just, what are the things that are on like job postings that I don't recognize, or, just kind of like situating things in, I guess, the job market. But yeah, I finished, took a small break, but I think it is important to like not let things get stale and to sort of keep that momentum going, because the more you learn, the more you realize there's like so much left to learn. And I think the sort of important next step is you're not going to feel ready to start applying, but you like still have to. And then as you're going, you'll see different job postings. You'll see a ton of different technologies that different companies want. You cannot learn all of them. It does not make sense to learn all of them. So at some point, you're going to have to narrow down a little bit and figure out what you're going to sink more of your time into and what kinds of projects you're going to sink your time into. So I think, just doing both, applying, inevitably getting some rejections, and kind of figuring out your path forward and being very active about that, while also continuing to learn new frameworks, build out new projects, and having both of those tracks going at the same time, I think was what I did. And I want to say it was helpful, but it was like it didn't work until it did. But I think that's what I did afterwards.
So when I finished my teaching assignment as an assistant professor, I had some time, and I needed, to make some money in the meantime. So I was working as a translator for TELUS, actually, and a technical translator. So we would translate technical documentation. And while I'm working there and doing the program, I was like, hey, I have these ideas, how we could build this, and this system to save money here, here, and here. And I think in the final weeks of the program, I was cold emailing 7 or 8 people in my company a day, just to find somebody who'd be interested in to do these projects, and to find and build the business cases and do the projects. And eventually I got into contact with somebody who was a general manager, and they're like, all right, I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a few weeks to show me what you can do. And I ended up doing a lot of data analysis during those weeks, and I ended up finding a massive opportunity for the company to generate revenue. So it was a really great opportunity. I didn't have to apply for anything, thank God. But I was actually lucky too, though, because we had a career fair here, and I had met somebody who wanted to give me an interview, but I was doing this at the same time. I was like, nah, So I actually rejected an interview, but it was different times as well. So.
And that's why I invited these 3, because they all have very different stories, and everybody is going to have their own story based upon your prior experience, what you want, what you're hungry for. And now I have a question for you all. Now that you're a little more established in your careers, what excites you about where tech is headed? Oof, hard one. Here, we'll make Syed start.
Oh, I was actually going to again pass it to.
There are lots of cool things we're doing, I think, at our company, especially with large language models, which have caused us to rethink the way we do a lot of basic things, like building APIs and just so many things from an infrastructure point of view. But I think I was talking about this actually just before this. They're starting to make it much, much more easier, leveraging things like MCP to integrate these tools into workflows and to call APIs and to basically in natural language extract data, set up calls, set up calendar events, and pull tickets from ordering systems right to those ordering systems. So we're getting to the point, I think, with agentic AI, that there's going to be a ton of enterprise opportunities to build systems that are just going to sort of revamp how we think about things and the interfaces we use for those things. And I think it's a really cool time to see the sort of the merger between agentic AI and then just typical web development or software development. I think it's really cool that Wagon does one thing in particular, which is it forces you to make your Streamlit application, which is which you would, that's something we actually still do, right? We build pilots in my company in Streamlit, or, we say, hey, look, this is what it would look like. We vibe code it, and it works, right? And we're like, okay, so now we're going to actually build it using the UDS system standards for everything afterwards, but because we can't scale in that. But it's really cool that you get to do that, because you're seeing more and more this merger between. I think one year we actually wanted to get the web dev students to combine with the data science students and work together on a project. But it's cool. It's a cool opportunity. So
there's a lot of really cool things happening in tech right now. I'm trying to something that I think would be really relevant to this group right here is that there's also like a lot of uncertainty. Like I think when things are changing, it's sort of, we all hear about how people are saying like, oh, like there's not as much hiring for junior devs, and there's not, because you can have LLMs like code a whole lot of this basic code super, super fast, super easy. But something that I've kind of seen that's like kind of flips that a little bit is that like your understanding of these tools and these systems like gets you in the door, but because the most basic programming skills are no longer like they're no longer the barrier to entry. It means that all the other skills that you had before this from either your previous job, your previous career, like all these things that you have already been working on that are like not wasted time, like they just shine so much more now. Like being able to communicate and work with people, being able to like work across stakeholders now that like the time you spend working individually coding is so much less than your time like communicating with people, making sure that everything fits together, making sure that people are like all on the same page about like some new design that's never been done before in the group that you're working with. Like those skills become like more and more important now compared to before. And I think it's sort of the lots of uncertainty, lots of change, but then lots of a reprioritization of like what it takes to be able to do really well in this space.
Yeah, it's true. Very
Yeah, well, I think my answer is a little generic. AI. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I think as AI is getting better, I think people are also getting better at using it. So it's not only about, like when I started job hunting, there were so many applications about, I want to create a chatbot for either like within the company or external. And again, the idea of chatbot sounds interesting, but does it actually work? One of the companies that I applied to, there was a chatbot that came up and with like a person's profile picture and said, so tell me about your address, tell me about and then basically you were giving all the information of your resume individually, but then it was asking you in an AI way, or like they were trying to make it human, but it's like, I know you're a bot, that doesn't work. So it's a matter of how do you implement AI into your job, how do you take advantage of it. So it's not just a matter of, the gif that the guy slaps something in the water tank that's leaking. That's not how to use AI. So yeah, people getting smarter on how to use AI, I think, is the future of the like in tech. Like that's what I find very interesting.
I think I mentioned this to you when I saw your demo, how I thought it was a really smart use of Gen AI, how it's not just slapping it in, but thinking about the business case and how it brings value. And I think that's all what you were kind of mentioning. So I know. So I'm just conscious of the time. I want to thank you all for coming, but I have one final question for you all until maybe if you all have any questions, then you're welcome to. But do you have any final words of advice for our graduates to keep, if you could give them like one piece of advice to keep in mind moving forward in their job search or in their continuous learning, what would it be?
Honestly, I would say, besides the fact that like the learning process never ends, like you just build up on the momentum that you have. Network, like that's having a social. I was going to say social network. That made me think of the the movie. But yeah, basically just being social, talking to people, going to networking events. Even like one of the projects that I did that I put on my resume was when I was talking to like a researcher in at McGill, and I was just talking about how I had finished this bootcamp, and she said that she has a lot of like interviews that she does, and we were thinking of how to incorporate NLMs. In order to facilitate her job in like reviewing all of those interview transcripts. So just from a casual hangout, I managed to get a project by the end of which I had another project on my resume, so you never know where opportunities come up. So just, socialize, and yeah, it all comes down to networking.
Yeah, definitely network. even if you don't feel like it, do it. Networking, continuing to learn, continuing to sort of build out projects and not get stuck on individual things. Because I think doing those multiple steps to go from like start to end of something that you can talk about is like super important. And just sort of keeping it up, even, I mean, you guys have already been doing this, but keeping it up even when it's tough. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think you, Kelton, I think you said it earlier, but like the skill sets that you have from whatever you were doing before this are extremely important, especially if you're a strong communicator or you've managed teams in the past or you've taught or you've done things along those lines, because those are all really useful skill sets within contexts like these, because you're going to be speaking to product managers and business stakeholders. And if you're able to explain, in a facile way what you're doing, it's an incredible benefit to your team, because that means they have to expand less resources on product managers themselves and these sorts of individuals. So those are incredible talents to have, as well as whatever other sets of talents that you have that are maybe less generic. Maybe you come from a degree in biology or something else like that. Communicate with people in those fields, reach out to them, reach out to friends, see if you can just do a project. Sometimes if you're having a hard time, it's probably going to be difficult to just sort of apply and get accepted right away. But do projects like that. You could find people. You'd be very surprised how many people are in a position to hire but don't know that you can do something that they want you to do. They just have no idea. So yeah, but you have to network and you have to leverage those other talents that you have.
Okay, I want to thank our alumni for sharing their advice and their expertise with our audience. So thank you so very much. You're welcome to go back. Actually, let's move these chairs really quickly because I just want to, whoops, sorry. Okay. So I just want to go back to the boot camp. None of this would have been possible without the dedication of staff and teachers. So there are a few teachers here in the audience. Thank you all very much for teaching and supporting our students throughout their journey. Without you, that they wouldn't have been able to go on this journey. Oh, sorry, the camera's here. And then if anybody is here who's considering joining one of our boot camps, we have open sessions in all three. For full-time, we have October, all of the above. So AI software development, data analytics, and data science and AI. We also have part-time in AI software development and data science. AI software development in January. And then very soon in September, data analytics, data science. If anybody wants to do part-time and join, they are open and waiting for you. So if you want to know more information about Le Wagon, if you want to discover our boot camps, if you want to talk to us and see if whether or not this would make sense in your journey, you can scan this QR code and talk to one of our learning advisors, and we would be happy to talk to you and see whether or not we can help you join the tech industry, become a part of our 30,000 strong alumni network. So this actually concludes our demo day this evening. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you to everybody who is joining us as supporters and as curious-minded, open-minded people. Yeah, I think that's it for the live. So thank you.